Members of the Long Point Bay community. It's always good to be with you. We are drawing close to Easter, and I would like to, for us, and I want to share with you that journey from here to Easter and beyond. And how do we do that? God knows we are in a position to certainly celebrate Good Friday, dying in slow increments and facing death slowly. And the reality of death. And some of my reflection also comes from, I think, a misunderstanding of some of the elements that go into our Easter celebration. And it comes from a time when I was younger. It was a Good Friday, and we were unveiling a wooden cross. And it was late in the day, so after Jesus had died. And we sang, "Behold the wood of the cross on which hung the Savior of the world." And I kept trying to wonder, well, why is this an emblem of celebration? This is an emblem of death. So how does that work? And so I want to walk through some of these things so that we can understand them better, and so that they become the symbols that they really are intended to be. The first key player in this season, of course, is Rome. Rome, the most powerful governance of the time, dominant and a taker. And what it did was it had a system of taxation, and it was deliberately geared to keep people as poor and as impoverished as they possibly could. You don't want to kill them because you need to tax them. You need their taxes. You need the resources that you can take from them. But you don't want them strong, or they may be a threat. So they take everything they can up until the point of death. On the other side is Jesus. Jesus, who is not interested in taking, he's interested in giving. His whole life was about giving. When he met with people, he gave healing if they were ill or broken. When he gathered people together, he fed them. So Jesus' ministry was about life, about living and sharing together. Healing, resurrection, life, nurturance, and sharing. So we come to that Easter week, and it really is the struggle between the values of Rome and the values of Jesus. The Rome who takes, the Jesus who gives. Let me just say a brief word about crucifixion. You may or may not know that crucifixion was a punishment by Rome, brutal. It could take literally weeks, at least a week, for a person to die. Now, I don't mean every person took a week, but it would be days minimum, and it could be a week or more, hanging on that wooden cross. Because what killed you was not blood loss, was not a lack of food, it was exhaustion. You are tied to a beam, and in order to breathe, if you are suspended, you can't breathe because your lungs are compressed. You have to be able to lift yourself up so that your lungs can expand and you can then breathe, and breathe for as long as you can hold yourself up. And then when you can't any longer and you go back down, your lungs begin to compress. Eventually what kills you is that you no longer have the strength to lift yourself up, and you can no longer breathe, and you die of asphyxiation. And that can take days, and it can take up to a week. Brutal, brutal. And Rome didn't crucify, well, they did crucify individuals, but they also crucified armies and peoples. There were times when the Appian Way, the road into Rome, was literally lined with crosses and people hanging on those crosses, dying in execution. It was a clear sign that Rome was telling you as you're coming in, mess with us, that's what's going to happen to you. So how do we celebrate Easter? What is Easter really about? Easter really is about God's gifts. The gifts that make life possible, the gifts that make life really worth living. And I think it really behooves us to think very seriously, at this time of year especially, what are those things that make life worth living? What are those things, and I think of a person, hanging and having to lift themselves up so they can even breathe. What keeps me struggling? What keeps me going? What keeps me putting out the energy that I need to get through a day? What keeps me going? What are the gifts? What are the good things that I need to support me in living the life that God calls me to live? And not only what are the gifts, who are the gifts that enable me to have the strength that I need to lead the life that God has gifted me with and asks me to share with others. The second piece is just to look very quickly at the cross itself. And this comes from early in my youth, going to a Good Friday service late in the afternoon after historically Jesus had died, and the unveiling of the cross, this wooden cross. And it puzzled me. It was unveiled, behold the wood of the cross on which hung the Savior of the world, come let us worship. It was meant to be uplifting. And I thought, here you have this wooden instrument of torture. How is this a symbol of something that I should celebrate? It was much more obviously a symbol of suffering and death. What I didn't realize and discover it later was that very quickly after Jesus died and rose, as a symbol of the resurrection, the cross was taken, that symbol of execution, and it was exalted by people adding jewels and gems and decorating that cross so that it became a resplendent, gorgeous image of life and gift that God has given us, even in the death and resurrection of Jesus. So it became a very positive symbol that even in the midst of death, we are in life, the life that God gifts us, offers us, and upholds us. So I would encourage you to think about, I guess I'm thinking especially of people, who are the people who uphold you? Who are the people that get you through those really bumpy roads? People who get you through those dark nights? People that you would say, oh, I want to put this jewel on that wooden cross in the name of, on behalf of, to remind me of. Who are the people that you want to remember at Easter, who for you are the gift of life and hope, even in the midst of this terrible struggle and pandemic that we're all facing and trying to get through? Who helps us through this? And finally, I would suggest, to the best of your ability, or where you can, when you can, say thank you to those people that are jewels on your cross. Say thank you to them for that life, that hope that they have given you in this time of dying, in this time of pandemic. those people who have helped you get through this time, people who at least help you to get through it better than you could ever possibly have gotten through this alone. They are the gifts of Easter and God's uplifting life to you. God bless, and have an incredible Easter.